Welcome back everyone. BARKS is back after an extended hiatus. Did a little bit of traveling, took a little bit of time off of bowling, and I'm back with a new brand on my shirt. So as you may have seen with Brandon and with Goots, they're wearing a little different brand on their jersey than they had in the previous seasons. This is just more to align with our personality types and the balls that we gravitate toward the most. Myself, I really like the Track brand, what it stands for, and the balls that come out. So for me, it made more sense to wear a Track logo, for Brandon to wear a Hammer logo, because that's what he gravitates toward. And Goots really likes his Ebonite balls. Made sense for him to switch to that brand. Before I get started, I do want to thank Dave Wodka at Brunswick for the opportunity for us to shuffle around a little bit. We really do appreciate that. But enough about me, but where I've been. Let's talk more about this new Track Criterion. A little bit of a technical name, but it's a technical brand, so what do you expect? Let's talk about the outside, the shell of this bowling ball. The cover stock is a HK22C with QR12 additives in a solid version. Now to me, visually, it looks a lot like the Paragon from a few years back, a ball that I really liked, a ball that didn't read the lane super early for an ASIM solid. Sometimes you need that sort of shape in your bag. So there's a lot of balls out there that want to dig in early, and a lot of balls that get way down the lane. This sort of bridges the gap. It doesn't hook too early, doesn't hook too late. Gives you a little bit of continuation that sometimes the ASIMs seem to quit if the cover stock's a little too strong. All right, so let's get to the bowling. Now today I'm on a 39-foot challenge pattern. This pattern has been really tricky for some of the bowlers in the league here. Not a ton of volume, and that makes it really hard to get the ball to get down the lane and read properly. I'm gonna start with my DV8 Hellcat Accelerate. Definitely better for fresher conditions. This has been bowled on, but there were no lefties on this pair. So the back ends are gonna be really clean and the ball motion is gonna be really jumpy. The Hellcat Accelerate for me is a much earlier rolling and much smoother ball off the break point. On this pattern, straighter angles tend to be a little bit better, so I tried that on the fresh. Being that straight with that much ball, the ball still wanted to hook way too much, going through the face or even going Brooklyn on the bad shots. When you see ball motion like that, you gotta move everything in and open up your angles a little bit. A few shots there were pretty good. The ball did start to burn up a bit. You got some flat hits. Moving deeper into the pattern didn't seem to help. Any ball that wants to roll that early tends to have trouble getting the ball around the corner and kicking out corner pins. So for you righties, you're gonna see a lot of flat 10s, the lefties flat 7s. That's when you know it's time to get out of that ball and get into something that's a little bit cleaner through the front part of the lane and retains a little bit more energy. So moving deeper into the lane and getting those kind of flat hits and the balls that didn't quite come back, quite get up the hill, it's time to make a ball change. That's why I went to the Criterion here. HK22C, that's with the cohesion additive. You've seen this on some balls that have come out recently, namely the Pure Envy, and the first ball that actually had it was the Hammer Effect. Now, if you've seen that video, you've seen that ball go down the lane, it gets down the lane and it hockey sticks. It goes really sideways. And that's sort of indicative of what that type of cover stock does. Now here we have it in a solid version with QR12 additives. I don't know if the QR12 is stronger necessarily than the QR11 of the Archetype and the Archetype hybrid. It could just be the next generation. It's really difficult to know without being a chemist and knowing how all of that works. What I can tell you is what I saw out of this one reminded me a lot of the Track Paragon. Similar colors as well with that sort of, this one's a little bit darker blue, but it still had that kind of teal tone to it. Really nice ball. That ball for me, for an ASIM solid, was a little bit cleaner through the front part of the lane and retained a little bit of energy and shaped a little bit more than most ASIM solids are going to that you see out on the market. As you can see, playing on that same line that I played with the Hellcat Accelerate, this ball got through the front a little bit easier and shaped a little bit more. It was kicking out the 7 pins, whereas the Hellcat was leaving the flat 7s. So that's a really good sign. That's when you know you're in the right part of the lane with the right type of ball. So as I threw more shots, I wanted to move a little bit deeper, kind of see what this ball had the potential to do, how much lane I could cover with it. And it definitely felt like a type of ball, the further right I could go, I could trust that it would come back around the corner. It would get back from that spot. Now, partially it has to do with the cover stock, but also the core is a little bit different shape than what we saw out of the Archetype, what we saw out of the Paragon in the past. Now, if you look in the core in the Archetype and the Archetype hybrid, that's the iCore 3.0 Slim, so a little bit taller shape to it, and typically cores like that are a little more imbalanced. So they're gonna wanna rotate a bit sooner, and that is part of the reason why that ball hooked so early. Partially to do with that, and partially to do with the really bright colors. That's something that never gets talked about, or at least not enough, is the impact that a color has on a bowling ball. If you look at every performance ball that's out there on the market, there's only one color option, and that's for a reason. The pigment that is added into the cover stock does have an effect on how much and how early that ball will hook. Typically, the brighter colors will hook the earliest and the most. And the darker colors, as you get into the blues and the purples and blacks, tend to not hook as early and retain a little more energy. And towards the end of my bowling here, I moved a little further right. I threw the Archetype Hybrid. Now it's a ball that's in the same price point, the same performance level as this Criterion. It's gonna round out the top end of the track lineup. Obviously a shiny hybrid ball, it's gonna get through the front no problem. It's gonna change direction a little bit more. And you can really see the difference in these two balls. Definitely a ball that's better suited for lanes that are a little bit more burned up, maybe a little bit less oil in the front part of the lane, just to get through it and not have the ball roll out so early and leave those flat corner pins. Now me being left-handed, there isn't enough breakdown in a pair of lanes, unless there's a lot of lefties bowling together. So typically I will gravitate towards the balls that are sanded with a solid cover stock. Very rare that I would get out of something like that and go to a shiny ball. It happens, but it's pretty rare. It's very case specific. And as you can see with these shots here, a little bit further down the lane, a little bit more change of direction. Not a ball motion I love to see, but sometimes you need something like that when the situation calls for it. So final thoughts, where do I see a ball like this being useful? I think it's going to be best for fresh conditions, specifically on long patterns. Typically you don't want balls that hook super early and are really that strong. This ball kind of fits that billing of one that gets through the front part of the lane a little bit easier, but doesn't jump too hard off the back end. I think you're looking at games 1 and 2 in league on longer patterns. You could probably get away with some medium patterns. It really depends on your center and the type of oil that's being used. Bowling here with an older lane surface with the type of oil that's being used, the stronger balls typically don't look that good. With that being said, I thought it looked pretty good on this, but I would like to try it on a longer pattern than what we had out there today. Now before I go, I do want to get to question time. I did talk about taking an extended break at the start of this video. I went away, I took some vacations, fun in the sun. Now I felt like I really needed a reset physically and mentally. Spending 5 days a week in a bowling center and bowling and doing reviews just became a little too much. I just needed to take some time away and maybe not throw a bowling ball for a while. So my question to you is, what's the longest break you've taken from bowling? Let me know down in the comments below. And before I go, one more thing. It is a new league season. Maybe you're in the market for a new ball, new pair of shoes. Head to shop.bufabowling.com, use our promo code JUNGOBARKS, and save 10% off your entire order. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.